Hello and welcome to the newest episode of the Right Stuff Anime Podcast. I am Thomas Breckenridge and I am joined today by...
I'm Quinn.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
And this is our first podcast of 2020.
Oh, I need a party favor right now.
A party favor.
Pew, 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 pew.
I am just happy that things are finally starting to return to normal here after we've gotten done with our holiday sale.
Yeah, it's fun.
Breather.
We have to relearn how to work normally now.
Yeah.
It's just so strange.
Yeah, I mean, our company, is kind of a smaller company, so when any part of our company is in need, we're all about helping them out. And the warehouse is the busiest part of our team during the holiday.
We burn more calories.
So we are out there helping out, getting
work.
stuff packed and getting it to you guys. So we're back to normal speed now. So hopefully this podcast will be showing up every 2 weeks like normal now.
In big, heavy, bold quotes.
Yes. So we're just going to start off with a couple news things. The first one is that there's going to be a theatrical release for Tokyo Godfather. It's one of Satoshi Kon's very few works, unfortunately, because of his early passing, but one of his great works. I always think of the argument where people are like, what are your Christmas movies? And people are always like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and Die Hard for those people. But Tokyo Godfather has always been one for me. I think it is a perfect Christmas movie of just kind of talking about what's important in life. And I also find the comedy in it absolutely hilarious. Is anybody here seen Tokyo Godfather?
I'm excited to see it.
Awesome.
But yeah.
I am so happy it's going to get a theatrical release. More people are going to get to see it. I think Millennium Actress might have been one, too, that a lot of people, their first experience seeing it was in theater, and it's getting its new release. So they haven't announced it's going to get a physical release, but if you look at trends,
Trend record.
they usually tend to release a physical release after the theatrical. So it would have been cool if they would have been able to show it during the holiday.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, maybe we'll get a little Christmas cheer.
We would have been too busy. We couldn't have seen
That's
it.
true.
Yeah.
I am kind of excited. If they do their physical release, I can get rid of my very ancient DVD that I've loaned out to so many people. So, second news item, and this is a personal one for me, but I think there's somebody here that'll agree with me. To Your Eternity
Woohoo!
is getting an anime release.
That wasn't me, not at all. No, that's totally me.
To Your Eternity was the title created after the author did the original Silent Voice.
Yes.
And this is her new title. I absolutely love this series. Quinn, do you want to kind of talk about it a little bit?
Well, I've only read the first manga, but because I put it up on the site every month or every time a new volume comes out, I've been forced to spoil some things for myself. But the main premise is that there is a young boy who has had his village decimated via age of the people around him and people moving, and it's just him left and his wolf hybrid dog. And events happen where there's an entity that shows up, and it's only ever referred to as it in the first manga. And through circumstances, it becomes the boy, and it now is learning about humanity, and life goes on.
Yeah. No, To Your Eternity is like a giant, epic, sprawling series where it is taking place like from many different like time periods. The entity that Quinn was kind of talking about, I always kind of it's like an unknown thing like that came down and is able to change into different forms, and it kind of grows as every person that it comes in contact with, it kind of takes over their kind of persona, but learns how to be like a human, how to be a dog, how to and it
becomes more human.
And it has a lot to do with humanity.
I always think of it as like, this is what would happen if aliens came down to Earth and said, what's this manual of humanity we're supposed to learn about?
Yeah.
It's messed up. We'll go learn about it through being it.
You also, as you go on in this series, you learn to try to not get connected to anything, because you start to learn that this is taking place over like years and years and years.
Well, they do imply that it's like a saga of this one being creature's journey through life, but it's multiple lives.
Yep.
Yeah,
and it kind of takes a different life every time it changes. But no, it's an absolutely awesome series. I think it's up to 10 volumes released over here.
I think number 12 or 11 is on the site.
Oh wow!
One of those two.
I'm up to 6, and it's stayed good so far. So I really like it so far. But that's getting a fall 2020 release.
Yep.
I didn't see what studio is making it, but
I don't think they've announced.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for top-notch quality animation though, because
that key shot looked nice.
Yes, the panels in it are absolutely stunning.
Yeah. Very, very good follow-up to Silent Voice.
Yeah.
Very different material, but
Yes.
good follow-up.
And then the last thing we're just going to kind of talk about is Weathering With You is getting its, I think they're calling it a sneak preview next week, and then the week after that's going to be like multiple showings of the film after that. So I think it'll be, Tuesday is the dub preview, and Wednesday is the
I think
sub?
It's a Thursday because
Yeah, I
I'm
think
So
it's
it's Wednesday
Wednesday.
and Thursday.
Okay.
They're doing 2 showings each night.
Okay.
One showing is the dub, and the other showing is the sub.
Oh, so they're showing the same night, 2 nights in a row? That's cool.
Nice.
But yeah, it's the new one from Makoto Shinkai, who did Your Name, which everybody's probably seen by now.
Yes.
But we do also have an awesome contest going on our site right now. Will, do you kind of want to talk about it?
Oh yeah, so we partnered with G Kids to host a little contest. So all you have to do is enter some basic information to apply. Prizes include free tickets to see Weathering With You, but you also will get a signed poster of the movie from that's autographed by Shinkai.
Ooh, nice.
Wow,
And
that's
then you also get the official soundtrack CD.
Oh, sucker for a soundtrack. I wanna join. I can't.
And you also get the light novel version for it as well.
cool. Nice.
So it's a pretty stacked contest prize, isn't it? I wish I could apply for it. But
I know, right?
I'm a big
illegal.
I'm a big thing for. I love swag from Japanese creators, like autograph, like Junji Ito. Like I got that autograph this year, and I'm still like super thrilled about it. But yeah, it's coming out next week. Everybody here is going to see it, so I'm thinking that this might be the next thing we talk about in the podcast.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, you can go back and listen to our take on all the Makoto Shinkai movies that we saw as a big group, and hear our take on those.
Yep, for
which
sure.
I think are going to influence my viewing opinion on this one, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, sorry if we broke it for you.
Yeah,
It's slightly broken now.
I think this is going to do really well at the theater. I don't know if it'll do Your Name numbers, but the fact that they're giving it so many showtimes just shows that the need that there's a lot of people that want to see this. So I'm really excited. And
Yeah, it feels like they're giving an actual indie release as opposed to just like a Fathom release where it's just like, oh, see it these 2 nights or you're just going to have to wait until Blu-ray.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate it when they only give it one night because I don't know what it is, but every time it falls on like a Wednesday, sometimes it's one night. It's like I've got like 500 things to do.
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
not gonna see it. So yeah, it's Weathering With You, and then we're just gonna quickly talk about the new season has started. I've only seen one thing.
Ditto. Everything else hasn't even been added to my queue yet because I can't.
And it's only kind of in the first week of them adding. I know there's going to be new shows coming. Beastars is finally going to get its release on Netflix, even though it came out last season. But has anybody been kind of watching anything, or is anybody like on the lookout for something coming out this season?
I am on the lookout for Inspector or Inspector. I'm not sure how you actually pronounce this title. The manga has been really good, and I want to see it animated. And I hope a lot of people discover it and love it.
One that I just sort of found out today while doing research for the podcast, a show called Keep Your Hands Off Isoken. It's a surreal story of the formation and exploits of a high school animation club. But the thing that has me excited is the new series from Masaaki Yuasa, who did Ping Pong and the Tatami Galaxy.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very trippy and cool, and that just feels right in my wheelhouse of, let's just watch something weird. So it will definitely stand out from the rest of the crowd, I think.
Yeah. No, and we've got returning favorites like My Hero Academia, who've kind of been the best part of this arc right now, with the combat kind of going on. Madoka Magica's got a side story series that's coming out. That one looks kind of interesting. I'm interested to see where that one goes. The only one I've seen, and the only reason I've seen it is I attended Crunchyroll Expo last year, and they showed an episode of Somali and the Forest Spirit, and I actually saw it at Crunchyroll Expo before it's aired, and I don't know. I think this one's going to be kind of fun. I feel like it's going to get really dark.
I'm trying to withhold judgment, but I want more plot. I want more
I
plot.
think they're holding a lot back from us right now. Like, how did the little girl get there? Like,
I can't even tell if it's a girl or a boy.
that's
at this
true.
point.
I'm leaning on the
gender
girl
this
side
kid.
right now, but it's very they're trying to make it gender neutral,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Well, actually, now that I look at it, the article that I'm reading right now says that the girl.
Do they know that though?
We'll
Are
find
they being
out.
judgmental? I don't
We'll
know.
see. I'll have to see if there's like a press release on this, but I feel it's the girl. But I mean, we've gotten kind of a hint that it's basically a world where there's tons of different creatures, and humanity basically couldn't coexist with anybody. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise!
And they were basically completely eradicated, or they ran away and they're hiding somewhere. And a forest golem finds this little girl, and he kind of takes it upon himself to help her find other humans.
Yeah.
And the first episode I thought was like super colorful. You kind of get to meet.
It's very pretty.
Yeah, you get to meet kind of like some of the different races. It kind of sheds a little bit of light, but not a lot of light on like kind of what's going to come. But like I said, I feel like there's going to be some really dark stuff hiding down the road.
Probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, the kid shows up wearing chains in the
Yeah.
forest, and it's like, how did you get here?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like time jump, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, plot. Where'd you go?
I always give it a 3-episode.
Oh, I'm gonna
try.
continue watching,
Yeah.
but I'm just like, I need plot, guys. I was saying that at the TV while I was watching it. Where's my plot?
There's your plot.
Where's my plot?
Yeah.
I will say that it does give off a lot of vibes of Ancient Maga's Bride.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got me intrigued too.
Yeah. I'm kind of excited to see where that one goes, and hopefully we'll all have time to kind of catch some stuff. We're still coming off of our holiday hangover too, so we'll
There's
see
been
how that
lots of
kind of goes.
sleeping.
Yes. So the main topic today is, now that we're in 2020, we thought we would each cover a couple different titles of manga that we are very interested coming into 2020. These can be series that have just started recently, going into the new year, or stuff that is upcoming that we are really excited about. So each one of us picked a couple titles to kind of talk about. We're going to start with Quinn.
A couple titles, air quotes.
3 titles. We'll see what.
Quinn came loaded.
Yeah.
I did. So I'm a manga reader. Okay, so I want to do a shout out to 2 titles that have already been released in December. That would be Saint Young Men, because I never ever thought that would show up stateside, and
Yeah,
Will's
that
read some
looks
of
so
this
cool.
too.
Yeah, I reviewed it for the blog. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it.
And it's the whole premise is Jesus and Buddha are having a sabbatical.
Yeah, like a
break.
break.
A break year,
A
yeah,
break.
yeah.
Mhm.
And they're just hanging out on a flat in Tokyo, and they're just experiencing life. But they maintain their normal features, so Jesus is still wearing the crown of thorns on his head, and Buddha occasionally will get overly happy and glow, and he's got a little chorus. And it's just amusing little shorts. And it's been a joy to read, and I thought I think people might think it's more controversial just because it's got religious figureheads in it, but it's done very tastefully, and it's
Yeah.
really, really good.
I've read a little bit of it so far. My wife got the hardcover of it, and when I found out it was bite-sized, I was able to
Yeah.
kind of zip through a couple things real quick. But no, I don't think there's anything offensive about it at
No.
all. I think it's just having a
Yeah.
really good time.
And it's like, if you read all the author notes in the back, they definitely understand both religions
Oh, yeah.
very thoroughly to poke so much fun of
Yeah.
it. And it's the same author that did Arakawa Under the Bridge.
Oh, interesting. I
Yep.
did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a really good one, and it got a really nice hardcover edition.
It did get a
too.
nice
Yeah.
hardcover edition. So yeah, and it's a omnibus version. So our version has volumes 1 and 2 both in it.
And
So
that is
nice.
also in our Kodansha sale right
Yes,
now.
it
too.
is.
yeah.
So
You
should
can
check
get
it
it
out.
even.
35% off the cover right now for that title.
Yep.
So.
Nice.
Other shout out for December release was 7 Days, Monday, Sunday. This one is just really, really well written. It's got the whole story takes place over the course of just 7 days, which I give kudos to any author that can make a complete story and not let me feel like I've been hanging with loose threads. It's just a solid story. It's really built well around just 2 guys and their dialogue when in conversations and interactions with each other. The supporting cast is very small. It's a very intimate look of how 2 people meet and grow a relationship. And it is a boys' love, but it never escalates beyond kissing. So for anybody who ever shuns boys' love just because that's what it is, don't. You'll miss out on one of the best romance stories I've ever read.
I'm interested in that one now because I really liked, I probably just screw up the name, the title, but Our Dreams at Dusk.
Oh yeah, that was really good too.
I absolutely fell in love with that series, and it's kind of, so this one sounds pretty interesting too then.
Yeah. So those two are my shout outs for December. For the new year, I'll just go into depth in two, but there are 3 that I like. I'm trying. Daily Lives of High School Boys, that just got up on the site. That's finally getting a stateside release. It's a little vignette of all the, daily lives of high school boys and what crazy weirdness they get up to. I think it's pronounced Great Priest Imhotep. That's coming out in January. From what little blurb I've read on it, it caught my attention. Ancient Egyptian god shows up on Earth looking for yokai or some sort of souls to track down, and apparently craziness ensues. And it sounded interesting, and I liked Maji, so it drew my attention. And then Given is coming out in February, and I've talked about the anime way too much on that, so Given is good. All right, so the actual ones that I'm excited about, or we can go around the table and come back to me. I'm talking about these two. I don't care where. I'm talking about them.
Let's go to Chris first.
There we go.
All right. Do you want me to go through all 3 of them? Or
Yeah, let's just go through all 3.
All right. So
Okay.
the ones I've been looking forward to that I've flipped through, sometimes it's kind of hard because, we get stuck in our own distributors that we take care of and have to peek at the other brands. One that caught my eye was Hell's Paradise Gyokuraku. This is a new Viz release that is coming out in the next couple months. The storyline is about a master ninja assassin named Gabimaru the Hollow, who is betrayed by one of his fellow assassins and sentenced to execution. But he's given a choice by the shogun to either accept his fate or go to a mysterious island and try and hunt down an immortality elixir. And the island just happens to be filled with other assassins, criminals, and otherworldly beasts. And it sounds like your basic kind of shonen book, but it's a 17-plus book, so it might get really dark and messed up. And the covers are very bright, lots of neon colors. And so I'm really curious to see if it's a more modern take on sort of a feudal Japanese story. And also you're going to have cool monsters and stuff. So it just looks really neat to me. Then one that I just discovered today, flipping through the Shonen Jump app that has just started being uploaded there. It's a series called A Gravity Boys. It's a sci-fi story that takes place in 2118, where it's 4 young teenage astronauts being set out to explore the frontier to establish a new colony for humanity. And then 2 days after they leave, the Earth gets sucked into a black hole. And so they have to fend for themselves. And at first, when hearing about this...
It's like reverse Astro Lost.
Exactly.
Hey,
It sounds a lot like Astro Lost in Space. But they play it for comedy. So, goofball Astro in Space, or Lost in Space, I'm a space guy. I'm excited for new Star Trek coming out this month, so this seems like it'd be right in my wheelhouse. And then finally, the last thing I'm excited for, it is a very big throwback. You've heard me talk about Gundam, you've heard me talk about Gurren Lagann. I wouldn't have gotten there without discovering Transformers back when I was 6. And so Viz is finally putting out in a nice hardcover edition the original Transformers manga from 1984.
Nice.
And so they're doing a nice big hardcover collection. It's just the classic original throwdown between Optimus and the Autobots versus Megatron and the Decepticons, but it's going to have it's the Japanese story, so it's going to tweak it a little bit. It's not just going to be the classic story that we've seen either animated or in the modern movies. And so it's another take on something that I've always loved, and I'm really excited to check that out. That's a part of my nostalgia that I don't mind feeding over and over again, because robots that turn into cars, it's always going to be a sick idea to me. I love it.
And the listeners can't see this, but Chris is physically giddy.
Oh, yeah.
I gesticulate all the time. It's normal.
You're extra giddy, though. You're like bouncing.
Oh, yeah.
He's
I'm
extra
hyped,
giddy.
so.
No, I mean, the Transformers genre has
it's
always kind of went hand in hand with the mecha genre.
Yeah.
There's tons of crossover there.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, I'm going the opposite direction from Chris's picks. One of my picks I wanted to check out is called Metamorphose no Engawa. It's a bit of like a generational gap manga where it's about this 75-year-old woman who stumbles upon a boy's life manga at a convenience store, and she just becomes like super into it, but she doesn't really know where to go from there. So she ends up developing this friendship with was a teenage store clerk, and it's about how they end up getting like a budding friendship. And you know, a generational gap is always kind of explored in anime one way or the other, but it's never been like a sole focus as it will be in this series, I expect. So I'm interested in seeing how that plays out. And then, ping pong. Speaking of ping pong,
Yep.
the manga is actually coming to stateside, something I never would have expected.
Yeah.
But as you know, I'm a big fan of the anime. And after reading Cats of the Louvre, which was also written by Taiyo Matsumoto, I want to read as much of his work as possible. I just think if anything is as good as Cats of the Louvre or better, then I'll be in for a treat for sure. And as someone who watched the anime, I really enjoyed it and was surprised at how much they were able to pack into just 11 episodes. I can only imagine the character and thematic depth that will be in the full manga series. So I want to read that when it comes out. And then there's also this one that kind of interests me a bit. It's called A Perfect World. It's supposed to be a romance manga. You know, a high school girl, a former high school girl meets her old high school crush, but she finds out that while the man has been able to accomplish his dream of being an architect, he ended up getting into a car crash, and so he has to move around in a wheelchair. And it's a lot about her coming to terms with the prejudices that she never knew she had, as well as the man's like struggles of letting people into his life. And it sounds like a book that's rich for like interesting conflict or a view of things that I haven't experienced and would like to know more about. And so that's one thing that I want to check in as well.
Cool.
Yeah, that one made me think of Silent Voice just because of the
Yeah,
hearing aid and the deafness. Yeah,
Mhm.
those kind of issues are always interesting to see from that perspective.
You have a very diverse stuff. Woo! All right, I'm gonna come in and bring up some depressing stuff now. Because that's what I do. So the first series I'm gonna talk about is a vertical title that's coming out in February called Blood on the Tracks. Japanese title is Chino Wadachi. This is by the creator of Flowers of Evil and Happiness. And Happiness is probably one of my favorite manga of the last decade. His stuff is always very bleak, very dark, but I have always kind of loved the way most of his protagonists are always teenagers. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that we read and see is like goofy, like romance stuff. And he deals with like bullying. He deals with depression. He deals with like, you're a teenager, you're going through puberty, you don't know what up from down is. And his way of kind of expressing that in the different stories, Flower of Evil had its own way. Happiness was a vampire story, but very much had to do with like being lost in the world as a teenager. So Chino Wadachi is the story of what it's like to have an overprotective mother to the highest degree possible. Like the story kind of starts in a way where you can kind of tell that she's kind of a hovering mom, but you don't know what degree it is. And through flashbacks that he has, he starts to see that he hears his aunt make comments like, "Oh, your mom's always overprotective." His friends kind of say it, but he doesn't see it. But through flashbacks, he starts to be like, "Yeah, you know, every day I was in kindergarten, my mom came to class with me and sat in the back of the class and just watched me."
Oh, that's not creepy.
But then you kind of figure out not only is she an overprotective mom, but she suffers from a really terrible some sort of mental illness where she has some sort of abandonment issue that has just kind of completely warped her mind. She makes really offhanded comments like, "The only reason I live is for you, my son," and things just become extremely complicated as the story goes on. She's pushing away the husband, so it's just her and her son. This is a really weird part. They almost romanticize the mother and son and like the mother almost has feelings. It's very awkward to read, but I'm taking it more into account. It's a mental illness thing, a doting kind of style than that, but like the mother warps the son's sense of how things should be. Like there's an actual scene in it where she's spoon feeding her 14-year-old son, and the husband comes in like, what is wrong here? It's very dark, it's very bleak, like I said, but it's one of those things that's, I almost want to say it's like a train wreck.
You just can't look away.
I gotta figure out how this is gonna end. It's not gonna end well. None of his stuff has ended really.
It's got blood and tracks in the title.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think it would.
There's like all this stuff ends with always a little speck of hope, like happiness, like happiness. Like I finally realized what the title meant at the end of the story. That there is that little speck. Flowers of Evil had that little speck too, but just to get there is grueling. The other thing too is the way that the mangaka creates his panels. The way he's able to show anxiety, like you can tell just by looking at it, something terrible is happening to this person. Like he's having an anxiety attack. Like the way he's able to draw it almost looks like Junji Ito like panels. Like the way that like the world is just slowly like caving in on this person. It's crazy. Like reading it, I almost want to just throw the book away and like walk away, but I can't. So take that endorsement as you will. That's my first one.
Put that on the cover.
Go up in the corner with this book and then just curl up in the corner for days.
Yeah. So the second title, which I've actually gotten to read in its entirety, we got an early copy of it, is Downfall by the creator of Goodnight Poon Poon. And this is another one. I'm just going to kind of read the back of it because it'll probably sum it up the best. So what if your manga series ended and you have no idea how to start the next one? Your marriage is breaking up. Your pure love of manga has been destroyed by the cruel reality of the industry, and nothing seems to fill the sucking void inside you. So,
I was reading such happy titles.
I read such happy titles. But this one is a really interesting one because I think I almost feel like this is made for an older audience because the things, even though this is a manga artist that has had great success and now doesn't know what to do and feels like the industry has grown without him, that he just doesn't know what to do, and that void is growing inside him. As it grows inside of him, he's taking it out on everybody around him. And I have met people and I've seen situations where people, as they get older, they almost have this crisis of identity. And I feel like this manga really kind of puts in perspective in the idea of a mangaka. There's parts of it, like the one title I just talked about, that are really kind of hard to watch. He doesn't know where to find happiness anymore. He used to be very prolific. Everybody was waiting for his next book. Now he's completely done with it. And where do you go when you think you've reached the epitome of your ability? And that's kind of what it's a one volume series. I think it's about 8 or 9 chapters, but it's really good. I really, really like it. And if you're a fan of Goodnight Poon Poon, which is another series that is kind of, I don't want to say it's dark, but it kind of deals with an adult, a teenager trying to find his way in the world. This one's more of an adult, but I do really like his stuff. So I have something that is happy. A new series. It's currently in Shonen Jump. I think it's going to get a physical release. I would be surprised if it didn't because I think it's doing really well. It's called Spy X Family. And basically the premise behind this is it takes place in a fictional European country where there's your left side and your right side of Europe, and they're kind of always been at each other's throats. There's always been they're always on the precipice of war between each other. And it follows a main guy named Twilight, who's on one side of it, who has always been doing these secret missions. I wouldn't say he's a killer extraordinaire, but he's a spy. And he's always made sure that events go in certain ways so the war never breaks out. If somebody is trying to escalate the war, he finds a way to get rid of them and stuff like that. So they find out that some guy that wants to escalate the war is going to do something. He never goes out in public. And the only way that he can get to him is the only time he goes out in public is for his son's big performances at a prestigious school, private school. So his assignment is you have to have a child or get a child and get married and get into this institution and get it to happen. And he's just like, what? Like, I've never been trained for this. Like, I don't even know what the definition of love is. So he goes over to this other country. They get him all the fake IDs and stuff like that. He's like, well, okay, well, I have to find a daughter. And so he goes to like a foster care orphanage style place. And he's just like, I want the smartest one you've got. And they're like, oh, okay. And then like they're like, well, this girl's been here for quite some time. And he kind of talks to her. And he's just like, oh, I don't know if she's going to be that one. But like she keeps answering all the stuff he wants to hear. And he's just like, oh, wow, this one's really smart. Like it's almost like she's reading my mind. The little girl's a telepath. So you have the spy, you have the telepath, and then he's like, well, I have to find somebody to get married to. He ends up running into a dry cleaners because he had to get some stuff cleaned. This girl, and the girl is just like, it was just talking to her brother about how, like, oh, she has a boyfriend, they're going to go to this thing. And he goes like, oh, I can't wait to meet him. And she's like, oh, crap, I don't have a boyfriend. You end up finding out she's an assassin, like one of the best assassins in the world. So basically, these two come into agreement. I need a wife for this thing, and she's like, I need a boyfriend to show my brother that like I'm growing up. So it ends up being like a spy, an assassin, and a telepath, all working on this mission to get into this prestigious school, which this little girl has to pass all these tests to even like get into the school. And so she has to use her telepath powers to like get the right answers and say the right things to impress the right people, and like they have to like show that they're the perfect family to get in. So it is like.
Do they know about each other's backgrounds, or is that hidden?
I'm pretty sure that they have an assumption that the spy and the assassin know who each other are, because like there's a hilarious scene in it where they're there and a bunch of farm animals get out and a bull's coming at them, and Twilight, the guy, is like gonna protect everybody, like hang on, and then like the assassin, she comes out of nowhere and just takes this bull down with like one hand. And then like he's just kind of like, oh wow, that's like super impressive, and like but nobody knows that the little girl's a telepath, and she has this unbelievable fear. She's been returned to the orphanage like 4 times, so she has this unbelievable fear of being abandoned again. And there's some really awesomely cute scenes where like she gets these like moments of like love, like where he just had a rough day, Twilight, and he's like kind of laying on the couch, and she kind of hops up there and like puts his arm around her, and they kind of like cuddle, and she's like, this is just what I've always wanted. But there's also this fear here, if they complete this mission, like, are they all going to go their separate ways? But I mean, I've got this feeling that they're actually going to become a family. Like, there's these little moments where like you can see like she's like kind of falling for him, and he has a lot of admiration for her, and stuff like that. And it's super adorable, but like it's really good. It's Spy X Family. You can currently read it on the Viz Shonen Jump app. It's only 17 chapters in, but this is going to be a pretty long series because they have just gotten to the point where she's in the school now. So it's going to be a pretty long running series. So those are my 3.
Nice. Okay, so I have my top 2. We're back to me. Sorry. I don't have too much to say about this one, but I'm exceedingly happy to see Sayuki is getting kind of a license save. Kodansha is putting them out in a hardcover edition. And I chuckled to myself with what their official name was, which is Sayuki, the original series resurrected. Because Tokyo Pop used to have this.
Yep.
So I remember watching the anime, and I enjoyed it. There's a priest who's on a mission to find something, I don't remember. And his cohorts are all demon, yokai, hybrids of sorts. And they are kind of the people he's trying to find to destroy. I don't remember. That's what I remember. I thought it was fun at the time, and I want to revisit, and I didn't bother to look up any specifics. The other one that I'm looking forward to is called Beyond the Clouds, and this is actually a French manga that has been written.
Interesting.
The whole premise is that there's a boy who works in like a mechanical shop. It's kind of like a steampunk setting. And he randomly finds this girl with wings, and one of her wings has been broken, so he makes a new wing for her, and she's kind of amnesic, so she can't really remember where she's from. So they go on a journey to find her people, and I'm sure that his skills will come into play. Its art on the cover is really pretty. It's almost like watercolors. So I'm looking forward to that one. I know that I've heard about it prior to its announcement, so it is pretty big. I wish I could remember the author off the top of my head. So those are the other 2 that I'm very much looking forward to, and I want to read Beyond the Clouds so bad.
Cool.
See, I was short and sweet. I can do short and sweet.
Yeah, I ended up being a long-winded one there, but I think it's because all 3 series I've actually read so far. So, but yeah, very diverse. There's gonna be a lot of good stuff this year.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Very
So,
much.
and I always feel like, you know, we talk about anime a lot, so I like to always throw the manga in there.
Yay.
Manga's just important, and there wouldn't be a lot of anime if it wasn't for manga.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. So we're just going to kind of top things off. So as of this podcast, we've got 2 sales running. We have the Old School Cool sale. It's kind of looking at some old school style anime and manga. So you're going to probably see some discotheque stuff in there, some early Viz stuff in there. We also have a really cool promo going on right now. Kodansha is finally done with their pin promotion for their single titles, and they're doing one last big blowout. All the extra pins that they've had from conventions and that we have here, if you buy any Kodansha title through the month of January that is not a new release.
Yep, anything prior or on the 7th of January.
Yep. You're going to get a free Kodansha pin with it.
Yep,
So,
and it is random.
yes, very random. So you could buy 7 Deadly Sins and get an Attack on Titan pin.
Yes,
So
that is a possibility.
You never know, but I mean, and then also it's 1 pin per order. So if you order like 10 books from Kodansha, you still only get the 1 pin. But it's an awesome promo. We also, it's 35% off those titles as well, which usually our discount's only 33%. So
so
a little extra savings there. So. Yep, and then we've got a convention finally coming up again in March. We are doing NakaCon in Kansas City, so I'm excited to do conventions again. I always love to go out and meet the people and all that good stuff. So as of right now, I think we're doing like 5 panels, which means I'm doing 5 panels. So I know we'll have our fun industry one, but I think I'm doing a trivia one. I think there's a couple other ones. I submitted to them one on the history of Noitamina.
That'd
which,
be cool.
Like, if I think about it, like almost 80% of that stuff is in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the very first Noitamina title is Honey and Clover.
I think so,
Way back in the day.
Oh, wow.
But, I mean, they've done everything from Guilty Crown to, I think Made in Abyss was Noitamina. Played on the Noitamina block, Land of the Lustrous.
Yes.
So, yeah, they've had a ton of super cool
I didn't realize
stuff.
they were that old.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I've always liked that idea that it was the anime for the other anime, like anime that's a little bit different than the mainstream stuff. And there's been some really cool stuff that's aired on there.
You would have never gotten tatami and ping pong without it.
Yes, yeah, the
Wouldn't have
two
gotten
big
it
ones
even.
too. So, but yeah, we'll see what NakaCon brings. We also have Anime Detour Minneapolis this year, ASEN in Chicago, and then we'll see what else the year brings. So, yeah. Cool. Well, we kept it under an hour this time. I'm very proud.
Yes, we did.
After our giant long episodes where we went over the best of the decade, it's kind of nice to do a kind of shorter one. But hopefully we gave you some ideas for some manga that's coming up.
Yep.
Like I said, we always have great prices on our site. I think 25% off everyday low prices, even on pre-orders. So if there's any titles on here you heard us talk about, you can go on the site and check them out and get them pre-ordered and get them, get them ready. So cool. Well, that's all we've got for you this time. And as far as I know, we'll see you again in 2 weeks, and we'll probably be talking about weather with you. So until next time, we'll see you then.
Bye.
Take it easy, y'all.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Right Stuff Anime. We'd love to hear from you. Send us your questions or comments to rspodcast@rightstuff.com, and we might just answer them in a future episode. That's rspodcast@rightstuff.com.